So what I've done is I have drawn out the plasmid, that's this here, with all the restriction sites on it. And I've got a key to show you each of the restriction sites as well. So anytime you've got this sort of V shape, this is an area that the restriction endonuclease SAL1 would make a cut in the plasmid. So it would cut here and here. The circle shows the restriction sites for the restriction endonuclease equal R1. So every time that the restriction endonuclease equal R1 is used, there'll be cuts made here, here, and here on the plasmid. And then finally, we've got a triangle that shows the restriction site for the restriction enzyme or restriction endonuclease BAMH1. So every time that restriction endonuclease is used, there'll be a cut made here. Now, we're asked to make sure that we know the possible combinations SAL1 plus BAM high. So when we use both of these restriction endonucleases, how many fragments will the plasmid be broken up into? And the easiest way to do this is to draw out the plasmid and then rub out any restriction sites to show where a cut is being made. So we know that SAL1 is this V shape. So every time that it's used, this part of the plasmid will be cut anywhere where there's a V. So we'll make a cut there by rubbing that out, and we'll make a cut here. The other restriction endonuclease that's been used was BAMH1, and BAMH1 is here. So when that's used, it makes a cut here in the plasmid. You have to excuse me the video being shaky because I'm using my phone. Right, so the amount of fragments that we've got from that combination then is 1 fragment, 2 fragment, 3 fragments. So the combination of fragments that's made from using SAL1 and BAMH1 is 3. So I'll write that there, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly redraw the entire plasmid with the restriction sites in. So anywhere there was a restriction site for SAL1, I'm just going to re-add that. That's the V's. And then I'm going to re-add the triangle as well, so that we've got the plasmid as it was. Right. The next combination that we're looking at is SAL1 and EcoR1. So we know SAL1 is the V's. So again, I'm going to rub out any restriction site where SAL1 is. So the restriction sites for SAL1. So we can see if this restriction endonuclease was present, where it would make cuts in the plasmid. So I've done that. And then our second restriction endonuclease this time was EcoR1, which is the circles. So these 3 circles here, according to our key, are the restriction site, so the particular sequences of DNA on this plasmid that will be cut when we use EcoR1. So I'll make 1 cut here, the next one here, and the next one here. And when I do that and count up all the fragments, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fragments. So there are 5 fragments that are made from the combination of SAL1 and EcoR1. Now, if I look back at my table on that PowerPoint, I'm looking for a correct answer that says that the combination of SAL1 and BAMH1 gives 3 fragments, and SAL1 and EcoR1 gives 5 fragments. So if I look for that, I'll look at my table. I'm looking for SAL1 and BAMH1 to be 3, so that can be A or B, and then SAL1 and EcoR1 to be 5. So that's this one here, so the answer has to be B.